Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again as we do our back-to-back reviews as we had the final episode for Season 8 for The Walking Dead, and now Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 premiere, Episode 1, What's Your Story? So, again, this is going to be full of spoilers, so if you have not watched, please go check it out, and then come back out for the discussion and the recap to see if you missed anything. So, we start this episode with a cowboy-looking survivor in the middle of the night hanging out by his vehicle, by a fire, very dark, kind of open valley. There's a tree nearby. He hears something and starts talking out into the dark valley, just kind of looking out into the woodlands and trying to persuade whoever's out there basically to come forward. It's just a total monologue, just kind of going on about his story and kind of where he's come from a little bit, kind of just giving some hints. And it seems he hasn't been around anyone in quite some time. His speech is kind of tangled up a bit and hoarse, so I must say the actor did a really great job portraying this. But then out of the dark comes a walker that gets dropped like a bad habit, as basically, I'm calling this dude the gunslinger for now. He draws his weapon, this old style, revolver pistol, and just drops this thing. And then just behind him appears Morgan. So actually the gunslinger's his name is John Dorey. And it's funny because in the episode he says, I'm John Dorey. Dorey, not like the movie, it's with the EY. Anyways, it was kind of clever, whatever. But, already you're kind of liking this guy. But again, can he be trusted? So let's back up a little bit. We back up finally in the episode now where Morgan left off as he had basically talked to Jadis, having her go back to Hilltop if she wanted to. And he's created this kind of solemn home at the junkyard. So Jesus makes his way to speak to Morgan. They all knock on the container, the entranceway, basically trying to see if he'll let him in. Morgan does, which is nice. And they're trying to invite him back. Then next, Carol shows up and tries to help Morgan back to the light. I find it funny, interesting, whatever, ironic that, Morgan was able to help Carol find her way back. But yet Morgan he can't do this. So the next visitor, I totally called out, of course, and I was hoping he'd show up. Rick, he's the final one to show up and talk to Morgan in a final speech, kind of reminiscing about the past when Morgan saved him and why he did it. And that, they wouldn't be where they are today if Morgan had not done that. Morgan tells Rick that it's just not him anymore. And Rick assures him that it is, and that one day he'll come across people again and he'll find his way, back to the togetherness. But it was a nice final send-off for Morgan from the Walking Dead story. So Morgan basically, he packs up his gear and he sets his eye to the horizon. I kind of see Morgan at the moment kind of like a kung fu master, like the old show Kung Fu, where he's just kind of traveling the world and just doing good. I use good in quotations because, Morgan has obviously been on the dark side for quite some time. I say if good as possible, but we'll see as we move through this episode. Morgan spends the night out in the street, really exposed actually and very dangerous, but all the same he does it. It seems like the air is pretty quiet, and when he finally awakes, he says aloud, I know what it is. So I guess epiphany time. He knows what he needs to do and his purpose and how he's going to try to achieve it. So kind of a cool scene. He starts running off into the distance. My wife said it looked kind of awkward, but whatever. I thought it was kind of a cool shot. And he finds his first working vehicle, and by his luck has a full tank of gas. Damn, this boy is lucky. But all that saying, that car only goes so far. And so on his travels, mostly walking and running, it seems, Morgan, he sees another small group of survivors, like 8 or 9 of them. It was kind of cool in my eyes to see that there were still others out there trying to get by. But Morgan totally avoids them. And then we watch a montage as he moves farther and farther west. Some cool scenes just showing his feet just moving and moving, his shoes kind of degrading over time. I think by the end they're kind of patched up with some duct tape and whatever. Every town he goes by is ravaged by the apocalypse, of course. We finally end off where the episode started. And also, I will mention, Morgan did also come across one other survivor in a truck, and his leg was infected as all hell. He was going to leave some things there to try and help him, but the survivor just told him, just get lost. I think he knew he was done, and Morgan finally realizes it, so he shuts the door, takes his stuff, and leaves. So from there, then, we finally end off where the episode had started. Morgan finding John Dorey, and that zombie being, shot in the head. So again, John Dorey with the EY, not the I like the movie. He offers Morgan food and then shows Morgan his custom, pistol, silver maybe, and asks if he's seen a woman with an identical pistol, identical to this gun, and that he's looking for her. So I find this guy very interesting, but of course, hard to trust anybody in the apocalypse. Do they want what you have? He's offering Morgan to basically sleep in this truck that he has nearby, the vehicle, one in the cab, one in the front. So Morgan decides to sleep in the back of the truck that's covered and whatnot. But he sneaks away in the middle of the night. Morgan does, miraculously, without making a sound. I question that big time, but hey, whatever. We're gonna go with it. Morgan finds a tent down the ways, and there's a light on inside of it. And I'm like, Morgan, you know better. You don't just go looking into a tent and not keeping an eye out. And of course, he gets knocked a good one. And the next time we come up with the scene of two armed men in front of him, basically telling him about, you're in no position to make any kind of demands, because Morgan's just saying, just take my food, take whatever you need, just leave me the rest. So then old John Dorey decides to track Morgan, and he tries to save him. He manages to shoot the gun out of one of the leader's hands, but unfortunately gets caught as well, as they had other men within this little compound. So as they're there and looking like things aren't going to be very good for old John and Morgan, a woman by the name of Althea makes her way in this huge armored SWAT vehicle, and basically pays the men in food, just saying, hey, give me those two survivors. I like new people, and I will give you this food. And then she decides to raise up this side gate that shows like two large M60 machine guns, or M249s, either way, very similar style, and about to light up the neighborhood. And she basically says, this is just my way of saying, take the food and give me them, or there'll be trouble. So they give up Morgan and John, but she doesn't give them up just yet. So as they're driving down the road, we find out that Althea is a journalist, and she asks them a string of questions. As we find out, she's just trying to get everyone's story. We find out that John is looking for a woman named Laura, and it seems that obviously they were very close. Could be wife, girlfriend, probably wife, and that they were split up by a not so nice event. He didn't really get into all the details. But I'm thinking so far I like John. I like his style, and he's useful. He seems like he has a kind heart, and that he's willing to do what is right, which is cool in my book. Althea then tries to question Morgan, but Morgan plays the total hard ass and just walks away, just saying he's done answering her questions, and he doesn't want to deal with it. But John stops him before he heads off and away, and offers him socks. So basically, while this is all going down, Althea is ambushed by the crew that originally captured Morgan and John. So they want her huge armored SWAT truck, which would be a huge loss for her, because I don't think she had any other mode of transportation anyways. Morgan and John see this going down and start working well together to try and gain the upper hand on the 3 to 4 thugs that try to, disarm them and all that jazz. But unfortunately, in the process, John unleashes about 30 to 40 walkers that were trapped inside one of these trailers in this small little kind of trailer park and, business area or whatever. Morgan gets shot in the leg as he's on top of these trailers trying to get to this sniper thug that's basically putting fire down on with like an M14. Morgan squares off with the dude, even though he has that leg wound from the bullet, and he even tries to save this guy's butt. As this guy's dangling off the side of the building, he lets the guy get back up, and then the dude tackles Morgan again, and they both fall through this building. I think it looked like it's a trailer or some kind of development compound, and as they fall back in, there are zombies everywhere inside of this thing. But it was shocking to see that Morgan at least tried to save him. So you start to see the change in Morgan. He's trying to do good. There was some awesome choreographing going on. And then when they fall in this trailer full of walkers, Morgan fends off this military undead dude that has grenades still attached to his chest. So luckily, he's able to pop one off and jump in this tub in the next room, which basically gets him out of the situation. The leader gets his, as basically Althea gets in her truck and unleashes the M60 Fury on the remaining 20 plus undead. So there's a little bit of something that went down, but you guys probably saw the episode. Basically, that dude was no good anyway, so the fact that he got eaten, let's face it, none of us are sad about it. So Althea tries to complete the interview with Morgan. He tells her about Alexandria and the kingdom and the big fight they had, basically with Negan. Not saying Negan's name or that the name was Sanctuary, but saying that there was a huge fight. And that's about it, though. Morgan is not one for a lot of words, especially these days. But before leaving John and Althea, he tells her, because she asks for, give me one real piece of content before I let you just leave, as a payment. And he says, I lose people and then I lose myself. And I think he said that before, but that is a deep statement that totally sums up Morgan's character. But Morgan's mind is starting to mend. We can see it here. There's even a scene where he's burying one of the people. And so you see that humanity is growing in him once again. And I'm glad to see it. I like Morgan because his character shows how frail our minds are and how easily we can be broken and rebroken and rebroken, but yet we can still be saved. Usually. It can still happen. So Morgan once again heads off on his own, but almost gets eaten as he's pursuing this walker that, as he can tell from behind, kind of looks like Jared with the long hair and everything. And I guess he had to make sure, but he's limping along, and these two zombies finally, they're almost all up on him. And then luckily, Althea and John did not listen to Morgan, and then they followed him. So John puts a knife in a couple of the zombies' heads, and John helps Morgan catch up to the walker to find out it's not Jared, of course. But he does notice the infected leg, basically from that survivor we mentioned earlier that he found in the vehicle. The three get back together, and Morgan's just saying, I'm just going to stay with you as long as, my leg's healing and this and that. But just up the road, a survivor is blocking it. We find out it's a female. She's on her knees, just trying to kind of crawl along, looks wounded. This reeks of total trouble. I know we're all feeling it. So all three get out of the SWAT vehicle. Bad move, guys. Why would you do that? At least leave somebody in the truck, right? But, of course, Walking Dead, fear. They got to try and build tension where they can. And as Althea finally gets up to the woman and grabs her up, and I'm thinking, it couldn't be, and it is. It's Alicia. And then Strand, Nick, and his girlfriend from earlier in the season, season 2, I think, Luciana, they basically ambush their crew. They ambush Morgan and them, and with weapons fully drawn. A fitting end to the episode when Althea just kind of looks at Alicia, as Alicia has like a knife, or some kind of arrow knife thing up to her throat, and Althea asks her, so what's your story? And then it cuts to black. So, pretty damn good episode, guys. Love that we met some new, interesting people, and the focus back on Morgan just for a little bit, just kind of showing his growth as he tries to mend. He's definitely not there, and probably won't be for some time, but it's good to see that he's still useful as he's joining the Fear of the Walking Dead. It was a little hard to believe that Morgan ran across the entire country like Forrest Gump and made it pretty much unscathed, but no doubt, when you're traveling by yourself, it's easier to hide and go unnoticed. So he was able to do that for almost all the way up until his full path to the west. I give this episode an 8.0 overall. It could probably be a little bit higher, but I'm going to give it a solid 8. It had some cool things going on, bringing back in Fear. I'm really enjoying Fear the Walking Dead now. They had a great season 3, so they had a lot of cool things going on. There is clearly a new menace in the land too, with these this flag system or whatever. That could be what Alicia and some of them are running from. We don't know where they've been or what's going on, but clearly Alicia did not stay on her own for very long. So I'm kind of wondering, where's the chick that Alicia was hanging out with for that little period of time? Some of the trailers have shown that she's been around a few other females, I think, too. And so I guess that's all for now. We'll continue to recap and talk these episodes as we move into season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. Make sure to like and subscribe this video, please, if you liked it. We're trying to continue to build our channel. We'll also have some videos on some awesome zombie prosthetics that I used in my Dead Nightmare zombie series, and we're going to get into some other makeup effects, and pretty soon we might actually have some giveaways where we're giving away free zombie prosthetics, just if you subscribe to our channel and just come out and give some of our stuff some views. So and also we have a Ready Player One movie review coming out within a couple days, so make sure to stay tuned. If you haven't seen the movie yet, it is an awesome sci-fi flick, and we'll get into all the details with that and much, much more. So until then, this is ZMAM saying good night, sleep tight.